the stock. Past year, it actually IPO'd back in December, so it's a relatively new stock to the market. They say it was overvalued when it came on, but hey, it still shot up during that run up from December to Feb. It shot up 52%, and it looks like it has fell back to earth. And actually, a lot of people that I talked to today were considering today, as in May 14th, 2021, I've considered maybe starting a position. What's your takes and your Hefe on Airbnb? Have you used it? Would you invest in this company? And what do you see in the future for Airbnb?
I am a firm believer in Airbnb. Obviously, I mean, during the pandemic, it took a massive hit, which is why it led to going public, obviously, back in December 9th. So they needed money. I mean, they were dying. There was no one traveling. There was obviously people couldn't travel. So obviously it took a hit. Same with hotels and resorts. The whole travel industry took a hit. But now that things are opening up, I see Airbnb as a big buy option. It's supposed to see 40% revenue increase over the next year. And I can see it getting back to 2020 numbers easily by the end of fiscal 2021. And doing some research back at my old job, people who want to start traveling post-pandemic or even the tail end of the pandemic, they want to go to more rural countryside, destinations. They want to get your cabins or your cottages. They don't want the big city destinations. They want something a little quieter, more family friendly, something that's safer. Whether it be safer because they're outside the city, or safer just because it's more hygienic because you're not in a big hotel or a resort. So I see Airbnb as a great option to buy. And right now, as you can see, over the past day, it's gone up like 8 points. So definitely buy now for Airbnb.
The issue it has fallen actually a lot in the past month because of what's going on in the stock market. So it has fallen 24%. So I've got my eye on it. I'm not an investor, but let's go over to Mr. Spicy Tofu. What's your take? Are you an investor, and where do you see it going?
Oh yeah, huge investor. I think I bought Airbnb blind. Like, I don't care if it's $1,000 right now. I'm buying it, and I literally, I think as soon as he IPO'd, I didn't even check the price. I just said, like, I got a couple $1,000. I'm putting all in there. I don't even know if I'm making or losing money at this point. I actually have quite a big history and a big passion about Airbnb. I actually found their first pitch deck when they first pitched it in front of the VCs, and it's actually online. Anyone could download it. But I base all my pitch deck based on that. It's really good. And what's interesting, maybe most people don't know, the CEO, Brian Chesky, like he's he's not an old guy, 39 years old. And there was a famous quote they said when they first pitched the idea Airbnb to all the VCs. The VC says, "Your idea is terrible. You will never make this out of it, but we will invest in you because we believe you can do anything." And that's why. And that really kind of solidified a company and its direction. And there's a couple good podcasts where he was a guest speaker on many different shows, and you can really tell he's really thinking about not just the company but the employees that he's working for. I think he sent this great letter during this pandemic where they really have to lay off many people just to make the boat floating, right? Even with the IPO, well, this is actually just before IPO because they had to delay that, but really he has this vision for the people and thinking a long term. And one thing I think, maybe just me being philosophical about this, but I really think this whole real estate problem that we're living in this generation, it's not going to be solved. And I actually believe in the future, in a really very near future, I don't think we'll be having any homeowners anymore. I think there's a whole decentralizing owning home and living in different places. That will be the new norm. I think our kids, our grandkids will be living in a place where we don't really necessarily own homes, but we own parts of the home through this kind of redistributing and not just using for traveling, but that's just how we live. And that's kind of where I see that the future of Airbnb will be, and that's inevitable, right? And it's a market that hasn't even been tapped. It's funny. I don't know. Maybe I always like to listen from old people. Every time I'm in a restaurant, I always, I don't know, if I hear some people talking in the background, I'm always conscious of that. But I've actually caught this quite a lot where I spend a lot of time listening to the older generations, the boomers, the people in their 60s now, retirement. They keep talking about like they want to retire, but they don't know what to do with their home. They don't they don't know what to do with it. And they just keep saying like, hey, let's Airbnb this out to whomever. They're like, we don't even care because the mortgage is paid for. They barely pay any on the taxes.
Mhm.
They just want someone to be there once in a while to take care of it. So I think that market will blow up. I think there's going to be companies that will be helping you manage Airbnb, even getting bigger and bigger, and even more of that. Maybe Airbnb will build their own hotel. They'll become the Hilton. They will do not just vacations, but office space too, and all these kind of things that I think they haven't even scratched the surface. In my opinion, the biggest and the most oldest market in the world ever, which is real estate, right? That's what they own, and that's the technology and disruption they're changing.
That's interesting about them. Like, so they're going to start owning homes, or you're going to decentralize homes. I haven't heard much about this topic, but I'm looking forward to maybe like getting into another conversation with you about it. Because I thought the people are trying to own homes now. Like that's the race now, and that's why housing prices have gone up sky high. I mean, that's not the only reason in low interest rates and such, but like isn't the goal to own a home? And then the fact that if you own a home, maybe you can Airbnb it and then you can work kind of like that's another way of making money. Like that's part of another gig. So like kind of the theme of what we've been talking about today is Uber. We've got Peloton, we've got Airbnb. So if you're a homeowner, you can rent part of your home. I remember we went to Spain and then one part of the home was for guests, and the other guy lived in the other part of the house, and he was just making 500 USD per like weekend, just kind of like sitting in the corner of his house while the other part of his house was being rented by like an American or a Canadian or whoever's traveling. So your house is actually making you money. So I thought the goal would be like you'd want to own a home as fast as possible to be able to Airbnb it out.
I think for you make a really good point, because I think right now we're at a time where we see the home rising so high, and I think that's one of the key reasons why everyone's also chasing that, because we don't want to miss the boat, right? There's that kind of that FOMO, and also like, hey, if I don't invest a home now, a year from now it's going to even be more expensive. So there's that kind of that snowball effect. I think maybe for me, I'm thinking of like in the future where like essentially home is almost unaffordable, like unless you have like tons of money saved out from your parents or passed down to you or inherited or you won the lottery, whatever it is. It's very difficult to own a home, and I think this whole industry might be disrupted. I mean, history has always this whole real estate, from every single country, every single religion back in the days, we've always redistributed the wealth and the homing and homes. So I think that will happen, and I think maybe they will use a platform like Airbnb in the future to do it. I don't know. I mean, this is just me spitballing, but I truly believe this Airbnb platform will be beyond our imagination how we use it today, and right now it's limited to maybe just rental homes.
Well, let's just run through some stats. Like that's an interesting point. So it says here Barcelona, Amsterdam, Paris, Venice, San Francisco, amongst others, have enacted regulations specifically targeted at short-term rental market at Airbnb for Airbnb properties, or and that could affect perhaps the revenue Airbnb generates. However, like I continue reading here. Let me just show you a statistic. So you thought 2020 might have been bad, right, for Airbnb? But read this. In 2020, there were 193 million bookings on Airbnb, a 41% contraction on the 272 in 2019. Obviously, the pandemic had an effect here, but it's still higher than it was in 2018.
Yes.
So if you look at some
growing.
stats here, it's still like people are still chugging along. They don't care. Like, so, and now with like vaccines and people starting to get more confident and getting out there and possibly, renting their spaces for Airbnb, you could see that jump, because look at this revenue from, let's just say 2017, 2.6 billion. And they made 3.6 billion the year after that, 4.7. And then the pandemic hit, they're back to 3.6. So yeah, they pulled back a bit, but I'm curious to see what 2021 numbers are and then 2022, because it is growing.
It'll be double.
Check out the
It'll
users.
be double or triple. I'm telling you right now, I just booked something on Airbnb and there's very difficult to get spots right now. Like it is going like fully booked. Like everyone is booking vacations. I would not be surprised if they doubled the revenue next year, for this year actually compared to last year.
Yeah.
and they will continue to do that year over year for the next decade or two.
Shoot, man, I better get some investment going in that company. But I'm worried about the regulation and stuff like that. I don't know how regulated a government can make
Yeah.
Airbnb, like the same way they had on Uber. What's your take on that, Senor Hefe, and then Tofu? What if regulation comes down hard on Airbnbs? Because in Toronto, they started coming down hard. Like you have to be a long-term rental person. You can't do like a weekend here and there. You have to list for 3 months at a time now, for example, in Toronto.
Yeah, well, first off, I agree with Spicy Tofu. I mean, I think Airbnb is just scratching the surface. Obviously, it's a new company when it comes to the stock market that just went public back in 2020. So, I mean, look at their stock price. It was at 210, 213 in January, February. It was their high. So, I mean, that's during a pandemic. Imagine where that's going to go in 2022 when it's gaining momentum and it's opening up, and maybe they have resorts or hotels, or maybe they buy an island. It's an Airbnb island and it's like a crazy resort. Who knows? Like the sky's the limit for this company. I have no doubt in my mind that this company is going to double their revenue from 2020 to 2021. Maybe not this year. Sorry. Maybe 2022 we'll see a double just because this year is still kind of COVID. But I mean, get in now on Airbnb. It's a new stock. And we've seen it go to 212, which mean starting at 141. Is that what it started off as? So
well, yeah, it's actually, if you held it the whole, like from when it opened till now, you're only up 1%. But if you sold at the high, you would have made 52% on your investment, and that would have only been 60 days later. So,
and you're still in a pandemic. So
yeah, the thing is, like, I think we got a taste of what it could get to. However, like, there's a debate right now that this part was a lot of like overbuying and like crazy stock market euphoria, because now there's like a bit of a correction here. But you got a taste of what it could get to. And for me, I think I got excited today when I saw the price. I just did not have the cash on hand to get into it. But it is a crazy good company at a good price. And if you look at their competitors, you have Expedia Group, Trivago, HomeAway, VRBO. I've only used Expedia. I haven't used any of these. I haven't used Flipkey, House Trip Viator. I haven't used bookings.com. I don't even know or trust any of these. And I'm not saying they're bad companies. It's just Airbnb has more of that appeal to me personally. And so does Expedia, because I guess through my bank, they have like a deal. So I've used that. But I also heard, and you can probably find an article on this, during the pandemic of 2020, Airbnb was out just buying out all their rivals while everyone else was, like bleeding cash. Airbnb is like, all right, I'll just buy you out. I'll buy you out. So like, I think they took a lot of these like small startups and like took their best programmers and their listings and their user base. So they had a lot of growth during that time. So remaining is just booking.com and Expedia, and then you have Airbnb. So slim competition for a large company like Airbnb.
Well, it's funny right now because I'm looking at Expedia's last year in the market. Last May, it was at 66 points. Today at 171. And it's been a steady incline since last May. So that's interesting to see. It hasn't done too poorly over the pandemic. So, I mean, there is a market for these, this booking website. So again, that's why I say Airbnb, it's buy now. It's going to go crazy.
Let's check it out. So let's do Expedia versus Airbnb. If you look at the chart here, they kind of follow each other here. I mean, Airbnb took a major hit in the last last month or two. I'm not quite clear on why that might be. It could they missed revenue, but I think because of all their investment and what they're doing, it could be because of that. So we'll keep an eye on it. And I did see, other than renting your place, Airbnb had like some sort of gig thing going on for like being a tour guide. I remember someone in Spain offered us a tour guide from the Airbnb. Like they showed us around. I don't know. I'm not sure if they wanted a tip or anything, but they had that feature, and I think they've recently taken it off. However, I don't think it stops people from being an Airbnb specialist. For some people, that could be also a good gig. Have you heard of that before, guys? What's your take on that?
I know exactly what you're talking about, because there was a bartender in Toronto that him and I kind of got along, and he was telling me about how he's quitting his really good job just to do this this kind of gig, where it's basically taking around people visiting town and going to all these kind of speakeasy bars around the town and showing them the whole experience. I think there's some challenges with that, especially during pandemic, where you basically are not allowed to do that. And I think that might be the reason they've taken it down, or just so experimenting with that. But I think it's interesting because Airbnb actually don't really advertise them as a vacation rental thing. They're more about the experience you have when you're visiting a place. And I think that they emphasize that quite well, very much in their front. So it's not so much that you're just renting a place to stay or live. It's more of like you're going to that crazy little villa in the middle of nowhere, or like this boathouse in the middle of the ocean, because you want to go there to experience it, right? I suppose you just want a place to live, and I think that's something they're marketing for, and I think that's what I want to get to.
Yeah, is that what you get the brand of Airbnbs for the experience, right? That's what they say, host and experience.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a good. Anything else you want to add there, Senior Hefe, on Airbnb? Seems like you have more of a passion for this company. Just, you seem like you threw out some statistics there. Is there anything else that you think is on the cusp of Airbnb? Is there something interesting that they're offering or we should know about?
I'm not sure about like new offerings and stuff, but yeah, I mean, people do go on there for the experience because you have like these one of a kind places or houses or whatever you're in. Like, I know a girl who quit her. Sorry, she's kind of a part-time nurse right now, but she's bought like a camper van and is traveling around and just kind of visiting random Airbnbs. And she was at one a week or two ago. It was like a tree house. This little like mini tree house, like luxury tree house, but things like that, like you can't get on like your Expedia.ca. Those are like massive resorts and like Hilton and like the Marriotts and Radissons and stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
Those are your big hotel resorts, where Airbnb is more boutique. They're more one of a kind, unique experiences, which people want. People, business class is obviously going to stay at the hotels when they go away for business or because they're used to that. But families or young couples with disposable income, they'll pay premium dollar to go to these tree houses or little huts on the ocean, or because they're near a cool surfing spot or things like that. People want that experience, which is why these hosting things are going to be a big thing as well coming in the future.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I think we need a meme for that. What do we feel? We need a good meme for that.
Yeah, meme it up. What do we want
here? It's let's do this one. Let's do the Super Mario. Let's just get that. Oh. Anyways, let's be like Mario. Take your money, invest in some Airbnb.
Get some coin.
Get some coin. Oh, that's a different stock. We'll talk about that.
That's a whole other day.
It's a whole other topic, boys. Okay, so I think this was very insightful. I think whoever kind of watches this recap will get an overview of the best kind of gig economy stocks to invest in. I like the perspectives you guys had today. Any final words you want to say before we close this thing off? Senor Jeff, it was great to have you today. It was great to have your insights. I know you worked at these kind of like startup companies, and you got some insights there, as well as the on-hand experience, literally driving an Uber, and you have like that. I get that good analogy with Nintendo and Peloton. I never really put that together. It's like when you buy one, why would you buy another one? I think you're buying with the classes or whatever hell's add-ons they have, but that was interesting.
Well, thing with Nintendo and Peloton, it was like I didn't even think about it until I started doing research on Peloton. But the thing with Nintendo is that you're always going to buy games because new games come out. With Peloton, it's a subscription where people don't have to subscribe. They can still use it without the classes, right? They can just do it on their own time as a normal stationary bike. So that's the difference. I think Peloton isn't the best stock to buy. I think Uber, out of Uber and Lyft, Uber is your option. And then Airbnb, like we just mentioned, like I think that's a big buy right now.
Uber, Peloton, Airbnb. I hear you. You know what? Just a word of advice: we're not financial advisors. We're not here to give you financial advice. We're just telling you what's out there. Be like this mini putter here. You gotta take it slow with your investment. you don't want to dive right in. You want to just, putt in. You gotta go slow, invest slow. Anyways, we're getting silly here. Spicy Toe, if you want to say anything before we close this thing off.
Yeah. Buy Airbnb. I'm telling you.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
That's right. All right, boys. It was nice chatting with you. All the best. Have a good weekend, and let's meet up again next time, and let's do this again. I enjoyed our chat. And Super Stock Bros, if you haven't yet, like, subscribe, and share. Peace out.
See you guys.
Peace.